Right. Now listen very carefully. Atmosphere. Now, whatever that you see in the night sky or in the day sky, so the sky is kind of the atmosphere place. Now, during the afternoon when you go out, you see different things. But that is not the same thing that you notice in the night sky. In the night sky, you see different things like stars, moons, and the planets. In the afternoon, you see the sun and the clouds. Right. So you see everything like all these sun, the moon, the stars, and the planets. All these objects are in the atmosphere. They are like floating through the atmosphere only. But definitely you have to remember that you can't see the atmosphere. You can't see the atmosphere. So atmosphere means if they ask you a direct definition, what is atmosphere, you have to remember the exact definition. So that's what I'm saying always, like science is not something that you have to think and write. You can't say atmosphere is the clouds, atmosphere is the sky, like that. Atmosphere means there's a particular definition. If you write that definition only, you're scoring your marks. So atmosphere is a thin layer of gases that surrounds the earth. Our earth is surrounded by a thin layer of gas, many gases. So that thin layer of gases which is surrounding our earth is called as atmosphere. So see how easy to remember? Thin layer of gases that surround the earth, right? So this is spreading, this atmosphere is spreaded nearly up to 700 kilometers from the earth's surface. From our earth's surface, it is spreaded up to 700 kilometers. You can imagine how long, like how what distance is there, right? So you should write, when you're writing the definition, this part should be definitely there. Atmosphere is a thin layer of gases, that surrounds the earth. That's all, right? Then the second thing that you have to know is atmospheric pressure. Now, when you were in grade 6 class, you might have learned about the different types of gases, right? So the weight of these gases are making a certain pressure. Now, I told you atmosphere means a thin layer of gases. No? So that gases are just in the atmosphere. So those gases are making or having a certain weight. Everything is having a certain mass. So these gases are also having a certain weight. So this weight of the gases above the humans, above the plants, above these organisms on the earth, they make a certain pressure on us and all the things which are around us. Again, I'll repeat to understand it. Weight of gases above us and make a pressure on us and all the things around us. Just see here, above us, pressure on us, things around us. Right? So the weight of the gases above us, there are some gases above us, right? They make a pressure on us. They make a pressure on us. And not only on us, all the things around us. See how easy? Atmospheric pressure means the weight of gases above us make a pressure on us and all the things around us. That is called as atmospheric pressure. So this atmospheric pressure is measured in, everything is having a unit to measure, right? Everything is having a unit. Now, if you have learned heat lesson, you know that degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit. Likewise, when you come to this part of the lesson, there is a certain unit that we use to measure the atmospheric pressure as well. So that unit is called as millibars. Now, I have mentioned here the short form MB. Right, usually this unit is used to forecast the weather conditions and all. So during the weather forecast, they use this atmospheric pressure unit and this atmospheric pressure word, right? So these are the main things, first of all, that you should know in this lesson. Now the next part is altitude. The height of a certain place from the sea level. Now, this word is very familiar. When they are describing any weather forecast, people, they used to use this as well. And also when we go for, this skydiving and all, they tell these words as well. So this height of a certain place from the sea level. From the sea level, for example, I can show you. Hello? Hello? Hello, Lena? So when I just draw and show that part, now this is the sea level. So from the sea level, the height of a certain place from the sea level is called as altitude, right? And the other thing is, according to the altitude, pressure and temperature changes in different levels of atmosphere. That means when the altitude is changing, remember, when the height of a certain place from the sea level, that means the altitude, when that altitude changes, the pressure and the temperature also changes in different parts of the atmosphere, right? So based on these differences only, our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. Now you should understand everything very deeply, like, just don't study what you are learning. You have to understand and learn. If you understand and learn, no need to, hardly memorize. Everything will automatically go into your brain. Altitude means height of any place from the sea level. So when this altitude is changing, pressure and temperature also changes. So based on that, only our atmosphere is divided into 5 layers. The 5 layers of our atmosphere is troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Right? Now here, see, I'll just again point out troposphere, stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and exosphere. Do your pronunciation part clearly. Right? Now let's discuss all these atmospheric layers one by one. First of all, we are going to talk about the troposphere. Now, just a name, this is a new name that you might have heard. So just understand, what is this troposphere layer? Are we living in that layer? Is anything living in that layer? What is the use of that layer? Where is it? What is the distance? All those things we are going to see. Troposphere is the lowest layer of the atmosphere. Right now, near the equator, near our equator, it is spreading about 15 kilometers from the sea level. Right now, troposphere is the lowest layer. That is the first point you have to remember. And near our equator, it is spreading about 15 kilometers from the sea level. It spreads up to 15 kilometers from the sea level near the equator. And the next thing is, the height of troposphere is nearly 8 kilometers. The height of the troposphere that near the equator pole is like around 8 kilometers. 75% of the air in atmosphere is the troposphere. Now I told you atmosphere is only divided into 5 layers. So 75% of our atmosphere, very large amount, 75% of our atmosphere is the troposphere. Most of the water vapor and dust particles are found in this layer. Right, now we are coming to the point. This is the best point that you have to remember, because they can ask MCQ. Most of the water vapor, here, water vapor, dust particles, both of these are found in this layer. Right, water vapor and dust particles, remember. And the next thing is, all the weather changes take place in the troposphere. Right now, you know that in our nature we have experienced many kind of weather changes. So all these weather changes are occurring in the troposphere. Not only that, helicopters, the parachutes, aeroplanes, all these are traveling through this layer. That means this is the layer that we see. In simple words, when you stand outside your home, when you look up, you may see an aeroplane, you may see a helicopter, you may see the parachute, you see the dust particles, right? You see the water vapor. Then that is the lowest layer. That is the layer that you see. Then that there are more and more 4 layers behind that. Sometimes maybe we don't see that. Clear? So troposphere means, remember these things: helicopters, parachutes, aeroplanes, they are traveling through this layer. In this layer, only dust particles and water vapor are found. 75% of our atmosphere is covered by the troposphere. It is having a height of 8 kilometers, and the troposphere is spread about 15 kilometers from the sea level. These points you have to remember when you are learning about the troposphere. And when you get a question to describe briefly about troposphere, make sure you have to include these 5 points. Now let's go to the next layer, that is the stratosphere. Now this stratosphere is a layer which is 15 to 50 kilometers above the sea level. Now when I'm discussing the troposphere, I told you it is around 15 kilometers. Now this stratosphere is from that place, from 15 to 50 kilometers above the sea level, high above the sea level, right? So the stratosphere, in the stratosphere the air is very dry and there is only very little water vapor in that layer. Now in the troposphere, I told you, we can find most of the water vapor and the dust particles, but in the stratosphere air is dry and a very little water vapor only we can find. And another thing is, there are no storms or turbulences in this stratosphere. No storms and all, those are not there in that stratosphere. So when there is no storm, when there is no high wind to disturb anything, what can you tell? The jets, they can fly in this layer, because without any trouble, the jets can fly in this layer. The next thing is, ozone layer is lying in this stratosphere. Now you might have heard ozone layer is having a big hole and all nowadays recent because of the environmental pollutions. So ozone layer is present in this stratosphere, and ozone layer means, ozone layer is there in our earth to prevent the ultraviolet rays of the sun entering to the earth. Ultraviolet rays are some harmful rays for the human body. So to prevent that rays enter into our body only, ozone layer is present. So this ozone layer is present in the stratosphere. So that can be a question to you. In which layer is the ozone layer present? They can give you all the 4 answers and they can ask you the correct layer. So remember, that is a stratosphere. The next point is the cumulonimbus. Cumulonimbus closer to the stratosphere takes the shape of an anvil. Just remember, cumulonimbus is present in the stratosphere. The reason for this shape is, like, the blowing wind is in one direction. The wind is blowing in one direction. So when the wind is blowing in one direction, the cumulonimbus is taking the shape of an anvil shape, right? Another thing, rain, thundering, lightning, these are occurring, and these are occurring due to the formation of cumulonimbus clouds. I'll show you what is cumulonimbus clouds. Like, I have attached a pic here. Right, yeah, like just have a look on this one. Layers of the Earth's atmosphere. Now you can see, I told you troposphere. There are parachutes, helicopters, and aeroplanes can travel. In the stratosphere, the jets can fly. And remember, in the stratosphere only, the rain occur with thundering and lightning, right? And remember another point, cumulonimbus is closer to the stratosphere. Another point, ozone layer is present in the stratosphere. Jets are flying in the stratosphere. So 15 to 50 kilometer high above the sea level. These are the basic points that you have to remember related to the stratosphere. Clear? So, yeah, go to the next end. Now listen the next layer, mesosphere. Mesosphere is from 50 to 18 kilometers. Now don't think these are hard to remember. Stratosphere, we talked about the troposphere, the first layer. That is the layer which is having about 15 kilometers from the sea level. Stratosphere is 15 to 50 kilometers and the mesosphere is 50 to 80 kilometers. So 15 to 50, then 50 to 80. Now, mesosphere is 50 to 80 kilometers above the sea level. And one more special thing is, mesosphere is the coldest layer among all the 5 layers. So this is a special feature. So this special feature, you have to remember, the coldest layer in the atmosphere is the mesosphere, right? So in this layer, in the mesosphere layer, water vapor is getting frozen into the ice clouds. Water vapor gets frozen into the ice clouds. So when the sun is setting, the rays are falling on these clouds, and you will see, like, during the night time, you will see those clouds. Like when the sun sets time, during the sun setting time, sun rays are falling on these ice clouds. So when they fall on the ice clouds, you will notice them in the night time, like in a different color, right? Clouds in the mesosphere are kind of a different color, beautiful color. So remember these points: 50 to 80 kilometers above the sea level, the coldest layer, water vapor gets frozen into ice clouds, and you will see them during the night time after the sunset, when the sunset rays are fallen. So this is easy to remember because only few points that we learned in the mesosphere. So when you come to the thermosphere, thermosphere is lying about 80 to 120. Troposphere is 15 kilometers above sea level. Stratosphere is 15 to 50 kilometers. Mesosphere is 50 to 80 kilometers. Thermosphere is 80 kilometer to 120 kilometer above the sea level. So the air particles which is present in this thermosphere layer, those air particles are absorbed by the sun's ray. So that temperature in this layer is very high. Now I told you coldest layer is the mesosphere. So the thermosphere will be very high temperature than that, right? So International Space Station, which is situated in this thermosphere layer, you can see that. International Space Station. They can ask you what is the main place situated in the thermosphere, or else they can ask you where is the International Space Station located, in which layer. So then you can tell it is in the thermosphere layer, right? So thermosphere layer we talked about, it is lies from 80 to 120 kilometer above the sea level. Air particles in this layer are absorbed by the sun's ray. Temperature is very high. International Space Station is situated here, and two special scenarios occur here. That is important. The two special scenarios that occur here, we call them as aurora borealis, aurora australis. Aurora borealis and aurora australis, two special scenarios that occur in the thermosphere layer. Now you can see aurora borealis picture is included in your textbook as well, the figure 13.5, and you can have an idea what kind of event is that, right? So both of these are seen in the northern pole. Aurora borealis can be seen in the northern pole, and aurora australis we can see in the southern pole. Okay, so that is about the thermosphere layer. The exosphere is the thinnest layer in the atmosphere, right? The thinnest layer. Remember, now I told you some special features for every layer. Troposphere is the lowest layer, right? Stratosphere, what is the speciality? Ozone layer is present. Cumulonimbus is closer to the stratosphere. In the mesosphere, we discussed that it is the coldest layer. It is the coldest layer. In the thermosphere, we discussed that International Space Station is present. Two special scenarios like aurora borealis and aurora australis are occurring in this layer. And in the exosphere, the special feature is it is the thinnest layer, and it is 120 kilometers high above the sea level. And there is no border. Now, when I'm telling you about stratosphere, troposphere, thermosphere, mesosphere, all those things, I told you an interval, like, 50 to 80, 80 to 120, likewise. But for exosphere, there is no limit. It is 120 kilometers high above the sea level, and there is no border between exosphere and the space. So after the exosphere, that is the space, right? So remember these 3 points: thinnest layer, 120 kilometer above, and no border between the exosphere and the space. Now let's go to the this diagram a little bit I want to explain you. Troposphere and stratosphere, I told you what are the things can be traveled in that. In the mesosphere, now you can see here it's included the International Space Station, and the meteorites are there, right? Meteorites are falling from the mesosphere. Thermosphere, you can see aurora borealis, aurora australis, and exosphere is the spaceship, satellites, all those are floating in the Exosphere, because exosphere we can't tell exactly that is the exosphere. It is also high above, like, you know, the space is also included in that area. Clear? Now we'll go to the next main topic. Differences of temperature and the pressure in layers of the atmosphere. Now I told you this temperature and the pressure are changing when the altitude changes. When we are discussing altitude, I taught you that. So this difference of temperature and pressure in all the layers of atmosphere are different. Now we are living in the troposphere layer, right? Now what will happen to the temperature and the pressure when you go upon the troposphere layer? That means when you go to the stratosphere, thermosphere and all, when you are traveling in what we call jet, like what about the temperature? What about the pressure there? So those things we are going to see here. Now you can see there's a diagram here, and this is a diagram which shows the changes of temperature in the different types of layers. Now these details are clearly included in a graph kind of one. Now you can see when you notice this one, temperature is given in the x-axis here. Temperature is given in the x-axis, and temperature is decreasing when the height is increasing, right? When the temperature decreases, when height increases. So the land and the sea, they get heated from the sun's warm, and temperature in the land is getting high. So when the height increases, temperature also increases, and what happens? Temperature near the land also increases. It gets high. So temperature of the troposphere is decreasing when we are going away from the land. Did you understand? Now we are living in the troposphere layer. No? When we go away from the troposphere, temperature decreases because the height increases. So when the height increases, temperature decreases. When I just draw and show you, troposphere, stratosphere, thermosphere, mesosphere and thermosphere, let's say. Now you are staying here in this part. So when you go high, when you go to this layer, what happened? You are going high means altitude. What happened to the height? Altitude increases. Altitude increases means the temperature decreases. That's what I told you. One layer, the mesosphere layer, when you come to the mesosphere layer, that is the coldest. That is the coldest. That means in the troposphere layer, what we are living here, the temperature near the land is high. High temperature. So temperature in the troposphere is decreasing when we go away from the land. And temperature increases in the stratosphere when you go up. But when you go up from the stratosphere, temperature increases. The reason for this is ozone layer is present. So ozone layer is absorbing the ultraviolet rays. So when the ozone layer is absorbing that harmful ultraviolet rays, stratosphere is getting heated. Stratosphere is getting heated and temperature increases. So remember, from the troposphere, when you go to the stratosphere, temperature decreases. But from the stratosphere, when you go up, temperature increases because it has already absorbed the ultraviolet rays. These 2 points you have to remember. So those are the things that is displayed in this graph as well. Right? So let's finish off from that. Now we talked about the stratosphere's temperature and the what we call the other temperature, troposphere's temperature. But when you talk about temperature in the mesosphere, it is also decreasing from bottom to the top. Temperature in mesosphere also decreases. Okay, temperature in the thermosphere, it is increasing again from bottom to top. So temperature in the mesosphere decreases from bottom to top. Thermosphere is increasing from bottom to top. And temperature in the exosphere increases more than everything. So those things just for extra knowledge only, but for you, you have to remember theoretically that temperature decreases when increasing the height up to the troposphere. Temperature increases in the stratosphere. Now we are going to discuss about air and its components. Now, the troposphere is the most important atmospheric layer for the living beings. I told you we are living in the troposphere. We can see the troposphere. So that is the most important atmospheric layer. Now let's see what are the components of the troposphere. In the troposphere, what are the things present? What are the gases present? Remember these gases: nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, and water vapor and other gases. They have given three type percentages only, so for you easy to remember. Nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, other gases. Remember these things: argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. Argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases, they are 1%. Nitrogen, oxygen, 78% and 21%. So remember nitrogen, oxygen, argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, other gases. Nitrogen 78%, oxygen 21%, argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, other gases are 1% in the troposphere. So nitrogen and oxygen are the main components in the troposphere. So you can get a question: what are the two main components in the troposphere? So remember, that is nitrogen and oxygen, two major components. Other components which show 1% of a volume, they are argon, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and other gases. So try to keep these gases in your mind and try to remember their volume as a percentage. They are very important. So you might be wondering why nitrogen is there for 78%. Yes, nitrogen is the most abundant gas in our air, right? So under atmospheric condition, this nitrogen is having a very low reactivity. So nitrogen, since it is the most abundant gas, we can find it for 78%. And when you come to oxygen, the most important gas in the air is oxygen. Now you know that for respiration purposes, we need oxygen. So this oxygen is not only for respiration purposes, even for the combustion purposes, oxygen is required. So this oxygen is also called as supporter of combustion. Combustion, right? Support of a combustion gas is oxygen. So this oxygen, they can separate from the air. Oxygen gas can be separated from the air. And that is the gas what we use for the respiration also. Not only respiration and combustion. Even, for this kind of work, what we call welding works, the cutting metal works and all, they need oxygen. Even for the astronauts, for the divers, they need oxygen. They need for respiration. But when we come to carbon dioxide and argon and carbon dioxide, argon can be considered as the third most common atmospheric gas. The third most common atmospheric gas. And this argon is a noble gas. When you take the periodic table, you will see that in the noble gas period. So that means it is an inert gas. Noble gases means inert gas. You will learn these things in you go to grade 10 and 11. Right? So argon doesn't react with any other elements. So argon doesn't have any chemical reactions. So argon can be used to fill the filament bulbs, to produce the electric lamps, that orange color, to emit the orange color in the lamps and all, electric lamps. Argon is used. So you remember, argon is an element and a gas that doesn't react with any other element. Carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is essential for plants. Oxygen is essential for us, the humans and the animals, because we do our respiration with the oxygen, and plants, they are doing their respiration with the carbon dioxide. So carbon dioxide is essential for the process of photosynthesis, producing food in plants, right? And this carbon dioxide is helpful to maintain the temperature on the gas, definitely. The carbon dioxide and oxygen level should be balanced. So carbon dioxide composition is higher in the exhaled air. Now when you breathe out, right, carbon dioxide is high. Then you inhale. You are inhaling oxygen. You are exhaling the carbon dioxide. So just remember these basic matters about these gases. Nitrogen, the most abundant gas. Oxygen, the most important gas for respiration. Carbon dioxide, most essential gas for photosynthesis. Argon, the third most atmospheric gas, which does not react with any other element. So try to remember these basic basic important characteristics of these four gases, right? Now let's talk about the functions of the atmosphere. What are the functions? Why is this atmosphere important? What does it do to us? So there are a lot to discuss. Let's discuss one by one. Atmosphere, have a look on this. Atmosphere provides oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants. Yes, definitely. You know that? We breathe, we respirate, we inhale, we exhale. So this atmosphere is only producing oxygen that is required for the respiration. Again, I'll repeat. Atmosphere provides oxygen needed for the respiration of all animals and plants. Second thing, plants get carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. Plants get carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. That is the second point. Now try to remember this. When I'm repeating the words, you also repeat them. So when you repeat and repeat and repeat, it automatically gets saved. Plants get carbon dioxide from the atmosphere for photosynthesis. Third one, nitrogen, a very important element for the growth of plant provided to soil by the atmosphere. So what do you want to remember? Nitrogen provided to soil by the atmosphere. Okay, provided to soil by the atmosphere for the growth of the plant. That's enough. No need about this point. This point is not necessary. So you can just remember how nitrogen provided to soil by the atmosphere for the growth of the plant. So nitrogen is important for the growth of the plant. Carbon dioxide important for the photosynthesis. Oxygen is important for the respiration. So these are the three things shortly you have to remember, right? So these are the first three reasons. So the fourth function is heat, light, and ultraviolet rays of the sun fall on Earth through the atmosphere. Now see, the heat, light, and ultraviolet rays on the sun, of the sun, fall on Earth through the atmosphere. So remember three things: heat, light, and UV rays. They fall to the Earth from this atmosphere. But ozone layer, it protects the Earth from harmful rays. So very easy to remember. Heat, light, ultraviolet rays fall to the Earth from atmosphere. Ozone layer protects the Earth from harmful rays. The fifth one, atmosphere prevents emission. Now see here, atmosphere prevents emission of heat of Earth to the space. So, yeah, emission of heat of Earth to the space. Now see, emission of heat of Earth to the space. It doesn't allow the heat of Earth to go to the space. So atmosphere keeps our Earth in the warmer condition. Moon has no atmosphere. Moon is very hot during the daytime and very cold during the night time. So when we go to the moon during the daytime, it's very hot, and during the night time, it's very cold. So this atmosphere is preventing the heat of the Earth to reach the space. That is one point. So atmosphere is keeping our Earth always in a warmer condition. And the moon, it doesn't has any atmosphere, and moon is very cold during the night time and very hot during the daytime. These points you have to remember. Mainly you should remember that atmosphere is preventing the emission of heat of Earth to space, right? Next one, hydrological cycle is very important for the existence of living beings. Water vapor in the atmosphere is very essential for the maintenance of hydrological cycle. So we can tell that water vapor in the atmosphere is important for the hydrological cycle. So hydrological cycle is basically important for the living beings, right? So we need that cycle to happen in our atmosphere. So to occur this hydrological cycle, we need water vapor. So that water vapor is there in the atmosphere, that is provided by the atmosphere. So water vapor in this atmosphere is very essential for the hydrological cycle. Next one, atmosphere helps for the birds and some insects to fly. It helps for the birds and some insects to fly. It supports for the communication among people, and it protects the earth from meteors. Meteors fall on the earth from the space, get heated and burnt in the atmosphere. If the meteors fall onto the earth, it will damage many lives. So the atmosphere is protecting the earth even from the meteors. Very rarely only meteorites fall to the earth's surface. So meteors are falling onto the earth from the space, right? And when they get heated only, and then they come to the earth's surface and they get burned. So when those meteors fall into the earth, very huge damages can occur. Now we can, shorten this when you are studying. How can you short? Heat, light, ultraviolet rays of sun fall on the earth through the atmosphere. So this point is not necessary to write. You just try to remember. Atmosphere prevent emission of heat of earth to the space. So atmosphere keeps our earth in a warmer condition. This is important. Atmosphere keeps our earth in warmer condition, right? And the next point, water vapor in atmosphere is very essential. This is the important function, right? So let's first of all write them. Yeah, so this is the assignment 13.3 and they have given the words for you. So we can include here as atmosphere, and here you can put nitrogen, oxygen, pressure, temperature. Those are the two variations how they have divided the gases. And these are the other layers: troposphere, then the stratosphere, mesosphere, thermosphere, and the exosphere. Those are the other layers where the gases are divided into. So this activity also important. They have given this one, as a hint for you for your exam. Also they can give a table like structure, a format of this one, right? That is important. Now let's go to the next topic, air pollution. So this is a very common topic, and also this is not something new. You know what is air pollution. So air pollution means when you add some substances to the atmosphere. Now just think pollution means what? Now if you are polluting your room, that means you put some dirt and dust into your room. That is your pollution of the room. Air pollution means adding the substance to the atmosphere, right? So when you add certain substances to the atmosphere, it changes the composition of the atmosphere. Composition means the levels of the gases that will be changed. And that because of that, when the levels of the gases change, that will cause some harmful effects to the organism, because that is not the correct level, correct amount. So the substances that cause the air pollution, we can divide into two groups as gaseous pollutants and particulate pollutants. I have included here gaseous pollutants and particulate pollutants. These are the two substances that can cause the air pollution. Now, what did we discuss? What is air pollution? Adding substances to the atmosphere, changing the composition. What are the substances that we can classify? Gaseous pollutants and particulate pollutants. Now, I have included the examples for the gaseous pollutants and the particulate pollutants. Gaseous pollutants are carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide. So here you can see carbon monoxide, right? Sulfur dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, right? So these are the gaseous pollutants. The particulate pollutants are carbon particles, lead particles, cement, dust, insecticide droplets, unburnt fuel droplets, asbestos particles. So see, daily we are polluting our atmosphere. We are using the lead particles, we are using cement, we spread the insecticides, and we use asbestos, Likewise, without our knowledge, we are polluting our atmosphere. These particles, little by little, they go to the atmosphere, they settle in those layers, and they destroy the layers. They destroy the composition of the layers. So this is the main reason. This is the main reason for the environmental pollution, air pollution. So now, if you have an experience that if you have seen the dust particles, the dirt and all in the handkerchief, that is the particulate pollutants. Those are the particulate pollutants they have get fixed in the handkerchief. Then you can notice how dusty, right? So these are the possible ways that the air is polluted. Now here's the ways of air pollution. Combustion of the fuels in the vehicle. See how much of a smoke is released. Combustion of the fuels in factories, burning the fuels in factories. Exhaust from thermal power stations. From the thermal power stations, gases are released. Burning of the waste materials, those air particles, those gases are released and they go and settle in the atmospheric layer. So once this happen, only oxygen, ozone layer is also getting damaged. When harmful rays are coming, ozone layer is getting a big hole and ultraviolet rays are entering to the earth. Then again, diseases are starting to spread. Cancers are coming, different types of cancers. Volcanic eruptions. This is actually naturally disaster, but we can't stop it. Volcanic eruption is also occurring sometimes due to certain activities of man. And the last one they have shown, destroying the forest. When the forest is destroyed, the level of carbon dioxide, oxygen is getting changed. Photosynthesis doesn't occur. So when the carbon dioxide released is high and oxygen produced is not enough, then there's a big problem. People will have to wear oxygen mask and walk everywhere when you cut trees, because there are no plants to provide the necessary oxygen. So these are the ways of air pollution. You have to remember some examples. So when they ask you a question, state 3 ways of air pollution: volcanic eruption, destroying forest, combustion of fuels in vehicle. Like that, you can write down 3 out of the 6. The next one is adverse effect of air pollution. What are the effects that will occur due to air pollution? Look at the first one. Climatic changes on the earth. Yes, suddenly you will see climatic changes. Right now, for example, I'm telling, December is a very, snow time, very cold, sometimes rain and all, that kind of a period. But suddenly you will notice one day it's very hot, scorching day. So see climatic changes. Now, usually June, July and all, very, windy, we'll say, right? Windy. So suddenly you get snow and all. So these are the climatic changes. The weather changes not in the pattern it goes. This is due to the air pollution. This is giving you a hint. Air is highly polluted. So climatic changes will be seen on the earth. Second one, wide variety of health problems related to the respiratory system. That's what nowadays also we are facing these viruses, viral fevers and all, breathing problems due to the respiratory system. What is the reason? Release of carbon dioxide, oxygen, that's not in a proper balance. We are not receiving enough oxygen. Carbon dioxide is filled. The population is high. Release of carbon dioxide is high, but trees are cut, not enough oxygen. Then respiratory system problems are occurring. Acid rain is happening due to the release of much carbon monoxides and carbon dioxides and other gases. Then acid rain occurs. Increase of temperature in the atmosphere, high temperature. What is the reason? Ultraviolet rays are reaching to our earth. Ultraviolet rays are coming to the earth because there's a hole in that layer. Which layer? Ultraviolet rays are avoided receiving to the earth from the stratosphere. So when the stratosphere is damaged, ultraviolet rays reach here. Then the temperature in the atmosphere increases. Reduction of the clarity and the transparency of the air. Now our atmosphere has 5 layers. When the layers are damaged, the clarity, the quality of the layers are reduced. That is reduction of the clarity. And the transparency means, then when the layers are damaged, due to the transparency, other harmful rays, harmful things, they start to enter to the troposphere layer. So due to that also, air pollutions occur and other health problems are occurring. So when the clarity of the layers reduce, problems, adverse effects are happening. So these 5 things you have to remember. The other thing, they have given you even the precautions that can be taken to minimize. How can you stop this? Now, when I'm telling this part, you might be wondering like how to stop this happening. So for that only we have precautions. Tune the vehicle engine. Tune the vehicle engine. Minimize the combustion. Yes, minimize the combustion of fossil fuels. Why do you do that? But we need. They say that they are developing the world. So minimize that. Use eco-friendly energy sources. There are many eco-friendly energy sources, renewable ones. Release the fumes of factories through a filter the gas and send. Then it won't damage our air, our atmosphere. Recycle the waste without burning. The things that you can recycle, please reuse them. Don't burn them. That will, increase the burning of waste materials. And reforestation. Don't destroy the forest. Do reforestation. Plant more plants. You have to grow more plants. Then only we can receive more oxygen. Right? So these are the possible ways that you can minimize the air pollution to stop the adverse effects of the air. Right? So those things you have to remember. Other than that, you can protect the forest, you can clean the waste without burning. So there are many methods, and even the artificial respiratory chambers are present in some places, right? Then other thing is that's our duty as a whole. The lesson says that lesson is giving you a message that it's the complete duty of man to protect the atmosphere, because atmosphere is a place which is giving us all the things what we require, especially the oxygen, right? So if you try to destroy this atmosphere, the final effect will be for the mankind and the organisms who are living here only, right? Because earth is just the planet that we can survive. Until now they have found, but they are trying to find more other planets. But until that, we had to protect our earth without destroying it. So in the name of developing the world, they are destroying. They're actually destroying. They are not developing. So these are the things that you have to remember in this lesson. Finally, adverse effects and precautions. So we learned many things in this lesson. What is atmosphere? What is atmospheric pressure? What is altitude? What are the 5 layers? Then we discussed all the 5 layers one by one. Then we discussed about the temperature and the pressure changes in the atmosphere. Then we discussed about the main atmospheric layer, troposphere. What are the things? What are the gases included in the troposphere? Then we talked about the functions, we talked about the air pollution, adverse effects, and how to minimize the air pollution. So that's all about this lesson number 13, atmosphere.